it's actually very common for Black women to have a challenging time with their weight and taking care of their bodies because as women, particularly those of us that are Black women, those of us that are immigrant Black women, we have been taught to put everybody above us. We have been taught that the family comes first, that the children come first, that the parents come first. I personally grew up with this idea of thought that I was responsible for my parents the older I became. And with me being the oldest daughter, there was a lot of responsibility that came on me, on top of me, to take care of my family. And I know that's not unique to my story. That's why I am talking about this because I know that I am not alone. And if you have felt like this, you also are not alone. It can be very challenging for you to take care of yourself when you're busy taking care of other people. And in order for you to take care of your body and for you to be able to lose weight in the first place, you gotta put yourself first. And that is something that many of us as Black women have not been taught. Hola, mis amores, and welcome to the Yenory Pouncil podcast, where every single episode is a love letter to my future self and to every woman of the African diaspora learning to heal with joy. If we're meeting for the first time, my name is Yenory Pouncil, and my son of brilliance is my ability to grow by putting my best self first, no matter what. That is why I am a spiritual guide to intuitive Black women that are prioritizing their self-care over self-doubt. In today's love letter, I want to walk you through everything I changed to release 36 pounds after giving birth to my son and do it with ease. This is part of me sharing my journey of weight loss and doing it in a way that is sustainable so that not only can you lose the weight, but you can keep it off, which is what I am all about. So today I'm going to open the doors to you to explore my weight loss journey post baby so far. Now I have my notes here, so if you see me turning to the side, that is exactly what's happening. I'm making sure that I'm staying on topic, okay? Because I'm good to go on a tangent, y'all. Listen, I want to talk to you about this because when you look good, you feel good. Whatever that means to you, whenever you look good, you feel good. And for me, after I had my son, I didn't really find myself feeling as good as I know I can. My journey with weight loss started back in 2010, if I'm being honest with you. That's when this whole thing began for me, when I began to look at myself from a different perspective. The first time I found myself in a place where I wanted to lose weight was in 2010 after I graduated from undergraduate school and I went to Honduras. And my cousins were like, yo, what happened? Because I had always been a small frame. And now suddenly here I was putting on weight and I didn't even realize it because I was the type of person that if I put on weight, I just get a bigger size of jeans. I was impressed about dropping the weight so much. But when that journey began for me in 2010, my cousins were like, yo, this is not healthy. This is not the way that you want to live your life. This is not going to serve you long term. Let us help you. So two of my cousins helped me do this. And if you've listened to previous episodes of the podcast, you may have heard me talk about this story. One of them was a nutritionist, and the other was a professional volleyball player. She played for the country of Honduras. And she taught me how to move my body, while the other one taught me how to eat better. And that put me in this trajectory of healthy living by caring for my body. And that's when all of this began for me. That's when I began to really care about having a body that was healthy and that was also in a position to be fit because I wanted to be healthy fit. Hence my old brand name, I Am Healthy Fit. So after learning that this was important, it became clear to me that my body is my foundation. And everything I do as I am healing, as I am growing, as I am leading, it has to start with having a strong foundation. And that's why I wanted to talk about this today because as Black women, we also want to start with a strong foundation. We want to be in a position where we're showing up as the best version of ourselves to everything we are co creating with God, whether it is our family, our partnerships, our marriage, for those of us that are married, our role as mothers, for those of us that have children. our businesses, for those of us that are business owners and CEOs, our careers, for those of us that are stepping out there and leading other teams, leading other people, other communities. We want to show up as the best version of ourselves. And having a body that is healthy, that is fit, that is strong is at the center of that. And when we experience weight gain, that impacts our ability to show up in that way. And that's why I wanted to talk about this today, because from my experience, y'all, most Black women, and I say most Black women because the clients that I work with and myself, I am a Black woman. I'm surrounded by Black women. Most of us have a very challenging time when it comes to our body, when it comes to losing weight specifically. And this is not even something that is like uncommon. It's actually very common for Black women to have a challenging time with their weight and taking care of their bodies. Because as women, particularly those of us that are Black women, those of us that are immigrant Black women, we have been taught to put everybody above us. We have been taught that the family comes first, that the children come first, that the parents come first. I personally grew up with this idea of thought that I was responsible for my parents the older I became. And with me being the oldest daughter, there was a lot of responsibility that came on me, on top of me, to take care of my family. And I know that's not unique to my story. That's why I am talking about this, because I know that I am not alone. And if you have felt like this, you also are not alone. It can be very challenging for you to take care of yourself when you're busy taking care of other people. And in order for you to take care of your body and for you to be able to lose weight in the first place, you gotta put yourself first. And that is something that many of us as Black women have not been taught. And when we have began to put ourselves first, we tend to be plagued by feelings of guilt and shame because we're not doing the thing that we have been taught that we quote unquote need to be doing. So I wanted to talk about this because I know that I am not alone. I know that this is a part of the journey of healing. And many of us have this perception and perspective that weight loss is a physical journey, when in reality, the physical part of weight gain is only a manifestation of the emotional and spiritual components of this journey. Because truly, weight loss is an emotional and spiritual journey and not necessarily just a physical one. The physical is the manifestation of what's underneath. And I want to talk about this because I've been going through the journey of being healthy and fit for over a decade. I've learned some shit, and I feel that what I've learned can really support you in your own journey. So that's why I wanted to talk to y'all about this today, y'all, because I want to give you the tea, you know. Also, I'm giving you a gloves moment. Literally nobody, not a single soul, me on the podcast with this long gloves you see over here. So here is what we are going to learn today. I'm going to share with you what I've learned about the journey of weight loss. I'm going to walk you through the power of reframing your weight loss journey, especially how you speak about weight loss. I'm going to talk about that. I want to walk you through why having a strong, healthy body is key for every single Black woman that's healing. I alluded to this, but I'm going to get deeper into why this is important, especially if we are healing emotionally. And then I'm going to walk you through the 4 changes that I made to lose 36 pounds with ease after having my son. And not only have I made those changes so that I can lose the weight, I have done it so that I can sustain and not put the weight back on. Because raise your hand if you put on weight before and then you find yourself letting go of the weight, and then what happens? You put it back on. I'm not in the business of doing that. So I want to walk you through what it looks like to do this in a way that you too can keep the weight off over time. So before I jump into these gems, let me just give y'all some quick reminders. If you're listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, listen, make sure that you leave us a 5-star or a 6-star review if you enjoyed this episode. If you find this episode helpful, if you find this episode like supporting you, if you were listening or are listening and you're like, Yenory is talking that talk and she's speaking to me right now, leave us a 5-star or a 6-star review on Apple Podcasts, because you're going to really support us and show us that you are enjoying what I'm doing, what we're creating over here. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, let me remind you that the Yenory Pouncil podcast is a video podcast. There will be quite a few visuals today for you, so make sure that you grab the link in the show notes for our YouTube channel so that you can get all the visuals and get the full podcast experience. And if you head to the YouTube channel and you are watching us on YouTube, remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so that you can get notified as soon as we drop an episode. Because what I noticed, y'all, you could be subscribed to a channel, and that doesn't mean YouTube is going to share those things with you on your feed. You have to turn on the notification bell in order for you to get notified that the channel you subscribe to dropped an episode. I know. I was surprised when I learned that too. But I know that information now, so I'm sharing it with you so that you can notify when we drop an episode because I want you to get these. One last thing I want to share with you. This week, I have opened up my calendar for 5 spots. There are 5 spots in my calendar for those of you that want to work with me. If you want to work with me, you can book what I call a self-care audit. And you can book one with me for this week. These self-care audits are extremely transformational, especially if you are desiring to put yourself first with ease and with flow. If you want to do that with your self-care, if you want to do that with your weight loss journey, you are going to get a lot of this conversation. So make sure that you click in the link in the show notes to grab one so that you can apply for one of them and you and I can have a conversation about how we can up-level your self-care so you can prioritize yourself over the self-doubt. I have 3 left for this week, y'all, so make sure you grab one of them. I remember when I had my son Sage, towards the end of the year, so I had Sage at the top of 2022, and the last quarter of 2022, I don't have the exact date, but it was definitely the last quarter of 2022, I got on the scale and I saw the number and I was shocked because I had never in my entire 36 years had never seen that number before. When I looked at the scale, I weigh 193 pounds, y'all. 193. I would never forget it. And I remember thinking that moment, like, what the fuck just happened? How did I get to 193? Yes, I had a baby. And at the same time, after I had my son, I wasn't 193. I was like 170, maybe like 175. What happened between me giving birth in January and September that now I am 193 pounds? And it became really clear to me that there were a few things going on. Number one, yes, I had given birth, and having a child drastically impacts your life. If you don't have kids yet and you are over 30, I'm about to talk to you real quick. Come here, get close. It's going to change your life a lot. It's going to change your body a lot. And the way that your body recovers after 30 is different than the way your body recovers in your 20s. Because I remember being able to gain weight in my 20s, and then I would drop the weight with a different level of ease than it took to drop the weight after 30. So I want you to know that. I'm grateful I waited till after 30 to have my child. At the same time, here are things that you're going to want to have in mind as you're going through that journey and you're finding yourself in this new place. And these were the things that I was learning. The second thing I realized was that I had become a slave to my business. I was so caught up with my business, y'all, that I wasn't putting myself first. And you can only serve one master. So if I'm focused on my business, then I'm not focused on taking care of myself. What does that even mean? What did that even look like? For me, it was showing up as avoiding my time to eat because I had something else to do. I had to send an email, or I had to talk to a potential client, or I had to send a proposal on something. I was literally holding my pee because I had to send another email. And one incident of that may not seem like that big of a deal, but when you engage in the behavior over and over again, guess what starts to happen? It becomes a pattern. It becomes a habit. And I know that because that was the habit that I was on. And very quickly, it became evident that this habit wasn't helping me. And at the same time, I was so caught up in it that I was having a challenging time stepping outside of it so that I can change. And I know that when I saw that number in the scale, it was the beginning of my transformation. It was the blessing for me because it was my wake up call. Because, like I told you, I had never been that big before. I don't want to say that never been that big. I had never been that size before. So for me, it was very jarring to experience that because, again, this was different and new for me. And if I'm going to be honest with you, which I always like to be in this podcast, I didn't feel good. I didn't feel good. I started this podcast saying when you look good, you feel good, and I didn't feel good. I didn't feel good and I didn't like it because I knew what to do to be in a position where I do feel good, and I wasn't doing it. And I wasn't enjoying that at all. And then on top of that, I was exhausted. I felt super drained. I felt tired all the time. I was burnt out because, like I told you, I was focused on the business instead of focusing on my self care. And it was materializing as weight gain. I was gaining weight because instead of eating food that I was cooking at home, I was ordering out. I was drinking, I was smoking a lot, I was numbing all the stress I was feeling with all sorts of coping mechanisms. Your girl was going through it and pretending she was all right. And the entire time, I wasn't taking care of myself. And that's what happens when you go through a huge transition. You find yourself in spaces where you're doing the thing that you know doesn't serve you, but you may not be able to make yourself stop. You may have a difficult time interrupting that pattern. And when we do that, when we stop taking care of ourselves, when we stop putting ourselves first, it materializes as weight gain. And this is the first thing I want you to know about this process of taking care of yourself, this process of what it means to be on a weight loss journey. It means that if you get distracted by whatever it is, when you're going through a transition, you're going to have a difficult time putting yourself first. And that's what happened to me. I was having a difficult time putting myself first because I was going through this huge transition, which was giving birth, becoming a mother. And on top of that, my business was also expanding a lot. So that also materialized as a transition because there was a lot of change going on and it was happening quickly. And your girl was learning to navigate it. I said that I wanted to talk to you and share the power of reframes in your weight loss journey. And I cannot stress enough how important it is that you are reframing these things when they're happening. Because oftentimes we tend to see weight gain as something bad. We tend to see it as something that is a problem. And one of the things that I've learned in this journey is that that's not necessarily true. There are seasons where we are experiencing weight gain because what we are experiencing is to help us see ourselves clearly, is to help us see how certain outcomes impact us, is to help us see how we're acting versus how we think we're acting, which I literally say in every episode. I talk to my clients about this all the time. So you part of the family now, you're going to hear me say this over and over again. So when we are experiencing weight gain, it's not a bad thing. It's really a blessing in disguise because it's showing you what leads to weight gain, what leads to you showing up like that. And then you can step into your power. Come on now, because I know you are powerful. You are a trailblazer. You are the go-to person in your business, in your household, with your family members, in your community for a reason. So you can step into your power and see, oh, this is not serving me. Let me go ahead and switch it up. Let me do what does serve me. Let me turn things around for me because I know what it takes to show up for myself. And that's why, to me, when I'm experiencing weight gain, I know I'm going through a rebirth. That's the first reframe I want to share with you. Anytime I experience weight gain, I'm going through a rebirth because I'm seeing myself from a different lens. I'm seeing how life is co creating with me and what impact that is having on me and my health. And I'm adjusting to those changes. I am adjusting to what it's like to be a new mother. I am adjusting to what it's like to be a six-figure business owner. I am adjusting to what it's like to be a new mother and a wife. There's quite a bit of change that happens in those moments. And the weight gain reminds me that I'm changing and that there are some things that are impacting how I'm showing up to myself. And then it invites me. You see that it's an invitation. It's like, come on, girl, come here. Come here, look at what's going on. So that you can decide how you want to show up to it. It's really beautiful. The second reframe I want to gift to you today is I don't utilize weight loss. I'm saying it in this video because that's how you understand it. That's the language that's going to make sense to most people. But for me, I call it weight shedding. Why weight shedding versus weight loss? First of all, loss implies that I'm trying to find it. I ain't looking to find no weight once I let it go. Girl, the moment I release the weight, be gone. Thank you. I am not searching for that. It's not something that I'm seeking. So I set that tone for myself that it's not weight loss, it's a weight shedding. Because when I'm shedding something, I know I'm letting it go. It's like you're shedding a skin. It's like when you see animals shedding skin, they're not looking to get that back. They understand that it is a part of their process, their evolution, and then they go through the process of shedding. It's an uncomfortable process. They already know it. Sometimes I go on YouTube and I watch videos of snakes shedding, especially when I'm going through the shedding season, because I want to see how nature journeys through the shedding season. And it's actually really wild. Have you ever watched it? Let me know in the comments below if you've ever watched snakes shedding. It's a very interesting experience, but they're not fighting it. I tend to see the iguanas shedding too because I live in Florida and there's a lot of iguanas out here. I can see them from the window in my office. They simply lay in front of the sun and let the sun do its magic so they can shed that old skin. And that's how I approach the weight loss journey, not from a loss perspective because I'm looking to get it back, from a shedding perspective where I understand that this is a layer that I'm currently learning to release. And it helps me. It helps me journey it. It helps me shift my mindset around it. And it also helps me shift how I look at it. It's really, really empowering, to be honest. So I highly recommend it, especially because as Black women, sometimes it's really challenging for us with the weight. Sometimes it's really challenging for us to let it go. And sometimes we do it only when something external is triggering us. Y'all, my plant is growing so much. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're not watching it on YouTube and you're on the podcast, head to the YouTube channel so you can see my beautiful snake plant, which is growing so tall that I keep on smacking it during the episode as I'm recording. Sometimes for us, we focus on the external. We have a vacation coming up, so we're like, all right, let me get in shape real quick. We have a birthday coming up. We're like, let me drop 10 pounds. We have somebody's wedding coming up. So we're like, all right, well, let me go and drop a size or two so that I can look good up in there. Give me a man if I don't got one. We look for external things to drive our behavior, and that's not sustainable. It's not sustainable because after the birthday, what do? We go back to the old patterns. After the wedding, what do? We go back to the old patterns. Brides do this too. They be like, I'm going to drop some weight before my wedding. I told my seamstress when I got married back in 2015 that I wanted her to take my dress in because I was going to release some weight. I wasn't doing it on purpose. I was training for the New York Marathon. So I told her, like, girl, you need to take this in because I'm going to probably get smaller as the day goes towards the wedding. And she's like, brides always say that. They always say that and they never do. But that wasn't my story because I was training for a marathon. So I know that brides set this intention for themselves too because they want to look good on their wedding day. You know what I mean? So what happens after that's done though? We tend to go back to the old patterns because we didn't change for ourselves. We change for other people. We change for something outside of ourselves, like an event or a vacation or a person. And now we're back into our regular and we're doing regular things. So it's important that we understand this because the healing journey, especially the emotional healing journey, is going to require that we shed things. And one of the things that we're going to shed is going to be the weight in our body. Because as we shift ourselves energetically and we shed things emotionally, we are going to shed things physically as well, because there's something called emotional weight. This is the weight that doesn't go away after you've been working out. But that's for another episode. I just wanted to give you a little preview of that. So I want to know which one of you have felt like this before. I want to know which one of you have been so focused, caring for everybody instead of caring for yourself. Which one of you have been so focused, putting other people at the top of your priority list and putting yourself at the bottom? Maybe not at the bottom. Maybe you put yourself in the third spot or the fourth. How does that feel to you? Do you like that? Do you like knowing that in your own priority list, you come third or fifth or last? Because I didn't like that. That was not sitting well with my spirit, y'all. Not at all. I want to know, have you ever felt like I was feeling? Have you ever felt like you had to put other people before you? Have you been taught that? Let me know in the comments below. Like, let's have an honest conversation, because me and you are in this together. You and I are in this together. And I'm here to support you. More so, I'm here to share my story with you so that you can see that it's possible to be on the other side of it. Have you ever put yourself in the bottom of your to-do list? Let me know in the comments below. Those of you that are listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, after you give us that 5-star or 6-star review, head to the YouTube channel, the show notes. The link to the YouTube channel is in the show notes. And come let us know. Let us know if you have learned to put yourself at the bottom of your priority list. Let's have an honest conversation. So before I give you these 4 changes that I made so that I can shed those 36 pounds with ease and with flow, here's what I want to share with you. Putting yourself first, especially, and I can't stress this enough, especially as a Black woman leader, can be extremely challenging. There are so many factors that we feel are on top of us, so much pressure that we're feeling on our shoulders, that can lead to this being a very extremely challenging process for us. And if you're currently experiencing that challenge, you are not alone. This is very normal. I experience this. My clients experience this. Oprah experiences this. So many of the celebrities we love talk about this. Kelly Rowland, which is one of my favorites, talks about her challenges putting herself first. Sierra talks about putting herself first. Serena Williams talks about the challenges of putting herself first. Like, literally, as Black women, y'all, we go through this. And I want you to know that you are not alone on this at all. The most important thing for you to know is that your weight loss strategy is only a small part of your self-care strategy, of having an effective self-care strategy. Yes, it's an important part, and it's only a small part. Let me show you something. What you're looking at here, and if you're not catching us on the YouTube channel, make sure you head to the show notes and grab the link, because I'm going to share with you a visual. What you're looking at here is a proven framework that we use to help intuitive Black women leaders embody their self-care in 90 days. And to help them do this without feeling paralyzed by guilt or shame, which is very popular and common for us. And this is so that they can live the life and have the bodies they envision for themselves. focusing on their self care routines and their rituals in a way that leaves them feeling confident, feeling empowered. Now, if you are an intuitive Black woman leader, if you are the go to with your family, with your career, or your community, your business, and you want to get crystal clear on the one thing that's most aligned for you right now to embody your self care, you want to book a self care audit before. This is a 45-minute conversation. It's a 45-minute no cost call to ensure that you are putting yourself first and that you're putting yourself first with mental calm and inner peace so that you may prioritize your self care over the self doubt. Now, I know you may be wondering, Yenory, why are you offering free self care audits? It's actually very simple because a percentage of the intuitive Black women leaders that we speak with, they end up working with us so that we can help them achieve these results. Now, listen, this is a no pressure call. We already got enough pressure from life, from society. This is a no pressure conversation. Either way, though, I'm going to help you get crystal clear on the exact step of this framework that is most aligned for you right now to put yourself on the number one spot of your to-do list, to stay at the number one spot of your list, and do it with ease and with joy. So again, if you're serious about showing up to your self-care, showing up to your self-care with confidence, instead of putting other people's needs above your own, head to the show notes below, y'all, and book your self-care audit right now so that you can start to embody your self-care with the confidence that you know you are yearning, the confidence that you know you desire, the confidence that I know is possible for you. The choice is yours. There is a link in the show notes. Make sure you grab it so that we can start talking and we can get you to the next level and you can continue to prioritize your self-care over self-doubt, because that's what I'm about. And I know you want to show up as the best version of yourself. It's one of the things you love. It's one of the things that people love about you is that you like to do that and you're committed to that. So let's take it to the next level. All right, let's get into these 4 changes I want to share with you. So here are the 4 changes I made to lose 36 pounds with ease and to keep them off. Because again, we're not just releasing and shedding weight. We are keeping it off, mama. The first one is move without timelines. Now, if you have gone through a weight loss journey before, you probably had a timeline. Raise your hand if you had a timeline. My hand is raised because when I first started, I definitely had timelines. You may say, I want to drop X number of pounds by X date, especially if it was a vacation-induced weight loss or a event-induced weight loss. You had a deadline. And what I've learned is that when we have deadlines on ourselves, we put unnecessary pressure on ourselves. We put unnecessary stress on ourselves. And the body doesn't react well to stress, especially if you haven't conditioned your body to handle stress healthily. So what ends up happening, we put this pressure on ourselves, we put this timeline on ourselves, and then we have a difficult time meeting it, and now we feel bad. We feel inadequate. We feel like something is wrong with us. So in order for me to go through this process of shedding those 36 pounds, I was adamant that I was not going to put a timeline on my journey or a deadline on my journey. And this meant that I was going to focus on progress over perfection, progress over everything. Everything counted as progress. And my only responsibility was to focus on the progress. That's how I honor my journey. And when you are changing as much as one changes when they have a baby, and when you are growing while you are also responsible for the life of another human being, you got to honor your journey. You got to move at your own pace. Ooh, I'm getting ahead of myself. You got to honor your journey. You got to focus on the progress. because it's going to be challenging to move in those situations. You are different, which means that the way you used to show up is now different. The way you structure your time is different. The way your body's responding is different. And it doesn't help to put a deadline on your progress. It doesn't help to put a deadline on the scale. And in order to do it with ease, the number one thing I did was to move without a timeline, without a deadline. Because when I move without a deadline and a timeline, I honor my journey, and honoring my journey feels good to me. And I am all about doing what feels good to me. Let me get some water. Number two, my pace, my own pace over everything. Okay. The second change I made was to focus on moving at my own pace. So I talked about moving without deadlines. Now, when I started to move without a deadline, I realized that there was some voices in my head that used to say, "You're not moving fast enough. You need to move faster. You're not changing fast enough. You know what to do. Hurry up and lose this weight." Now, whose voice is that? Because that's not the voice of my intuition. That's not the voice of love. That was the voice of conditioning. That was the voice of who I've learned I quote unquote needed to be. And what I discovered was that that voice wasn't helping me. It was, again, adding unnecessary stress to my journey. It was putting me in a position where it was not rooted in unconditional love. And I want my future self to know that we move through the energy of unconditional love. We amplify the energy of unconditional love. So that wasn't going to work for me. And what I decided to do was that I was going to listen to my body. I was going to accept where I am. A couple of weeks ago, I saw a post on Instagram that Serena Williams made about accepting her body because she had a second baby and she was sharing a photo of herself postpartum. And when you have a baby, man, your body changes a lot. The day, and I say this and my husband laughs at me every time because he's like, "And you won't let us forget it." The body you get pregnant in is not the body you give birth in. Okay? The body you get pregnant in is not the body that you give birth in. It's a different body. And you wake up to this body and you realize, I don't know this body. I don't know myself in this body. And that can be so jarring. It can be unsettling. I remember feeling like that and wondering, like, whose body is this? Like, I don't know how to move in it. I don't know how to dress it. I don't know how to feed it. Feed it. It was just so different. And at the same time, it helped me see myself from a different angle. And the only way I was able to stay in that path of self love and self care was to accept where I was, accept that I was now in this body, and that somehow the body was 193 pounds, and that perhaps there were new things I had to do with the body because I had never been in this body before. So I was discovering this 193 pounds body of Yenory. And there was a period of time where I was not accepting it, where I was rejecting myself, where I was angry that I was that size. It was showing me all the conditioning the society had taught me about what it meant to be beautiful, what a beautiful body looked like, how much a beautiful body weighed. And then I was discovering this body too. So there were a lot of moving pieces. And in order for me to release that weight and do it with love and with ease, in order for me to do it, even when those voices were speaking in my mind and looking for attention in my head, it was very important for me to accept myself, accept that this is where I am and that there's nothing wrong with that. I desire to have my baby. I prayed for my baby. I prayed that my body will be able to carry my pregnancy. I pray that I'll be able to deliver my baby in a birthing center on my own terms. I pray that my body will be able to heal after me delivering that baby. And my body was doing exactly that. So it was okay that I was feeling all those things I was feeling because I had prayed to be there. And that helped me accept myself. And he helped me get to a place where I can release those 36 pounds and counting and do it with ease. The third change I made to lose that weight, to release those 36 pounds and keep it off was play outside. I had to leave the house, y'all. I had to leave the house because every time I was looking at myself in the mirror, I was challenged by what I was seeing. And if you're here and you're listening to this podcast, or if you're watching it on YouTube and you're a Black woman, you may be familiar with looking at yourself in the mirror and not liking what you see. Raise your hand. My hand is raised if you're seeing me on YouTube right now. And I was challenged by that. I was so stretched by that. And I realized I got to go outside. I got to go and be in nature. I got to commune with other people. I got to get out of these walls of my home and experience life and be reminded that there is beauty in all shapes and sizes. So I took my behind outside and I played a lot of tennis. Now, before I got pregnant, I was playing tennis. I'm a very active person. I've always been a very active person. Movement is the first form of self-care that I engage in. So I was playing tennis, but after I gave birth, actually, while I was pregnant during my second trimester, I stopped. I had sciatic nerve pain, and I could not get out there without discomfort, like extreme discomfort. So I had to lay my ass on the couch for a little bit. So after I gave birth and I rested, because I think they give you like a 90-day period or window for you to rest. So I did that. I started to slowly get back out there because, again, this was a body that I didn't know. So I wasn't sure how I was going to sustain playing. And I play in like 85, 90-degree weather. It's hot. So I wanted to be really mindful about how my body was going to show up because I told you I was listening to my body. I was focused on listening to my body versus doing what I quote unquote needed to do to lose weight. I wasn't about the losing weight or the shedding weight. It was about me putting my body in a position to heal with compassion and with grace. So even though I was playing, I wasn't playing that much. What I really was doing was walking. I was walking a lot. When I first began my journey into healthy living, walking was my entry point. I was living in Honduras at the time, and my cousin, the one that was a professional volleyball player, she used to train at this track with her team sometimes. Excuse me. And I used to go to that track after work, and I used to walk for 30 minutes. And actually, just walking, I remember dropping like 25 pounds just walking. And I knew that. So I'm like, let me just go outside and walk. So I would walk. I live across the street from a park. So I would walk for about 20 minutes in the mornings with Sage and the stroller. And then sometimes I walk in the evening. And that became my entryway into a body that I recognized. And slowly, I got the courage to start running. Girl, I went running once and my body was like, what are you doing? This amount of weight bouncing around like this is not going to work. And my body literally was like, I'm not equipped to go running right now. No, ma'am. So I stopped. I stopped running and I resumed walking. And I accepted that that's where I was. Because the old version of me would have had an attitude. The old version of me would have judged myself a lot for that. But this version of me was compassionate and full of grace. And I was able to go into walking until I got to the point when I started running. And I started running and running and running. And I got to the point that I was running like 3 times a week. Now, mind you, I'm not a new runner. I ran 2 marathons. I don't know, maybe like 24 half marathons. And I'm not even including the training for that. So I'm not new to running. This is simply what I was able to do, listening to my body. I was able to return to the activities that the body knew because the body has something called muscle memory. So if there's something that has worked for you before, it may very well work for you again if you are willing to work with your body to tap into that muscle memory at your own pace. So that's what I was doing in that process. And it was really helpful because between the walking and tennis and running, I got to a place where, again, I was able to release the 36 pounds and then keep them off, which they're still off right now. I'm still in my journey. So this is just where I am right now. As I continue my journey, I'm pretty sure I'll continue shedding weight because that's what happens. And then your body gets to that point where it's like, all right, this is my base. I feel good. And then I may build some muscle. So it really was about me meeting myself where I was. After I accepted myself where I was, I began to meet myself there and doing the thing that served me versus what I thought I quote unquote needed to do. Making sure that I was being compassionate with myself in that journey because there are times when I wanted to be further ahead. I wanted to move faster, literally. And my body was like, no, ma'am, we're not ready for that. And it was important for me to be okay with that. And slowly, progress and progress and progress, celebrating myself along the way, being willing to see that things were changing. I honestly didn't even, I feel like I just blinked and then the weight was gone because I was so focused on me and taking care of me and listening to me and being present with me that I wasn't worried about the scale. I wasn't worried about the size. I wasn't worried about the inches. I was focused on, do I feel good? Am I enjoying myself in this journey? Am I taking my time? Do I feel at peace? Do I have mental calm through this process? And I did. And he helped tremendously. The fourth thing I did to help me, the fourth change I made to help me lose the weight, lose the 36 pounds was nap. Man, I learned this. Shout out to the mommies, the mamacitas that be willing to answer questions, whether I'm posting them on Instagram or on Facebook or now here on my YouTube channel. Like those of y'all that are willing to come and give me the tea. Because I used to think when I had Sage that when he was napping, it was my time to do things. Like, okay, well, he sleep. Let me go and do all the things I wasn't doing because I was being a mother. And girl, let me tell you, that was not how things worked. I was so tired when Sage would be napping. And I used to tell the moms, like, how did y'all get, what do y'all do when your babies are napping? And a few moms were telling me that they will push through and do their best to get things done. And other moms were like, girl, I nap. If the baby's napping, I'm napping. And at first I was like, man, but when am I doing my other things? And then I realized, man, F that, F those things, fuck that. Let me take a nap. And it was the best thing for me, especially as I was moving my body, as I was going outside, as I was listening to my body and moving at my own pace. My body was also asking for rest. My body was asking for me to cut back on working. My body was asking for me to sleep. Because you know, when if you have a baby, you know your sleep gets different. And if you don't have a baby yet, your sleep gets different when you have a baby. Let me just be the one to tell you. And I was used to getting like 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. And maybe I was averaging like 5 hours of uninterrupted sleep. That was different for me. And I was not okay. So I started to nap when Sage was napping. And that helped me a lot, especially with recovering my body as I was moving my body. Now I was resting the body. My building has a spa room downstairs and amenities. And in the spa room, there's a sauna, there's a steam room, and there's a jacuzzi. I started to go down there and give my body rest and recovery. These were things that before I would say I was quote unquote too busy for, and I started to create time. And the more I created the time for it, the more I began to heal within, and the more it began to manifest as the weight shedding of my body. And I've sustained those practices, and that's why I continue to be in the downside of the scale because I continue to care for myself and to rest and to take naps and to drink a lot of water. That's a big one. Drinking a lot of water. That's a tip. If you're feeling tired and drained and groggy, like you gotta get some water in your system because our bodies are like 80% water, y'all. So it's important that we are drinking water so that we are replenishing those resources. Listen to your body though. Listen to your body about how much water and when to drink it. I am big on listening to our body intelligence because everybody's different. That's why I'm not telling you this is what you need to do. I'm sharing with you what I've done. And my intention is that you will listen to what I'm sharing with you and you're going to listen to your body about what's in alignment with you and what isn't. And this is why I offer those audits because it gives you an opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation with me about which one of the tools and strategies that I'm leaning into make the most sense for you. You feel me? So the last thing really was about just treating myself with compassion. Because in the journey, when you're used to getting things fast, and I'm used to getting things fast, I'm used to getting things my way. Not no more since I have a baby. But before the baby, I was used to that. You're gonna feel that pressure, especially as a Black woman. When you're used to like, I'm gonna make it happen, I'm gonna get it done. You're gonna feel that pressure with yourself about yourself. And it's helpful to release that pressure and to allow yourself to be where you are and to be compassionate with that journey because the inner critic is gonna come up, babes. It's gonna have a lot to say. And when you give yourself the space to release that, things can move with a level of ease and flow and joy that perhaps you haven't experienced yet, and it is available to you. And this is why I know what's possible for you because I've been there. I am there. I've been prioritizing my self care over self doubt for over a decade. This is a journey that began in 2010. It's 2024. It's been 14 years that I've been doing this. This is why I am sharing with you because I've learned quite a bit of it and I've applied it. I was able to drop that weight. So at my highest, I was 193 and I've dropped 36 pounds and counting. And I was able to do it. I want to say it was the less than, once I tapped in, it was the less than 12 months I was able to do it. And I was not forcing myself. If I would have been on I'm forcing myself to lose weight, I could have done it in 6 months or less. But that wasn't my focus. So I was able to do it at my own pace, on my own terms, being compassionate with myself, taking my time in less than a year. And I started seeing results pretty quickly. And I felt good about it, which is the part that matters most, y'all. It's not even the fact that I released the weight, it's that I felt good about the process. And that's what I want for you. That's why I've opened my calendar for those of you that are interested in working with me because I know that at least one of you is going to benefit from having one of the self care audits with me. I know there's at least one of you that desires to put yourself first in this way and care for your body from love and compassion without rushing. And I want you to do it too because I know it's possible. I've been doing it. And when you are in a position where you know what to focus on, you can see results with ease and flow. So make sure you head to the show notes and grab the link to book a self care audit with me so that you and I can kiki and we can talk about where you are and what's gonna take to get you to the next level in a way that makes sense for you with ease and with flow. Make sure that you book one of these self care audits because they're gonna be transformational for you, especially if you're ready for this step. Matter of fact, only book one if you are ready for this step because that's how you're going to get the most out of it. This isn't a conversation about convincing you to do something you don't want to do. This is a conversation about helping you do the thing you desire. You do it with ease and with flow. So head to the show notes and grab the link for that. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you head to the show notes to grab the link to the YouTube channel so that you can be a part of the conversation because I want to hear from you as well. And I have 3 of those calls for this week that you can apply for. So make sure you grab it. You grab the link and let's come talk. Let's see what's going on. All right, before I go, listen. I'm gonna say one more time. If you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star or a 6-star review. I love to see what y'all are feeling about these episodes. It really helps me share with you things that are gonna serve you. So take the time to review the podcast, especially if it's serving you. Share with somebody, another woman of the African diaspora, another leader that is healing, and it's a Black woman, because you know she wants it. You know it's going to help her. So put her on game. And this is a video podcast. For those of you that are on YouTube, hey boo. This is a video podcast, so make sure you get the link to the YouTube channel from the show notes below so that you can get the full podcast experience, so you can see the visual of the framework I shared with you today and get a feel for where you are in that journey, so that I can help you, or so that you can be aware of what is in store for you. And while you're on YouTube, remember to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you can get notified. Because if you don't hit the notification bell, you're not going to get notified. This is not like a ad thing. This is a how it works thing. Not just for my channel, any channel that you want to subscribe to, that you want to get their content. Make sure you hit the notification bell, because if not, you're not going to get it. And I want you to get the things you subscribe for, because it's a reason why you subscribe for it. And yeah, in the next episode, what are we talking about in the next episode? Oh, yeah. It's going to be a good one. So in the next episode, I'm going to walk you through what it takes to win the game of boundaries. Because the big part of prioritizing ourselves is having the right boundaries in place. Okay? And when you have the right boundaries in place, you can say no to other people so you can say yes to you. And I want you to say yes to you, because when you say yes to you, you can show up as the best version of yourself to others when you say yes to them. And I want you to do this in a way that leaves you feeling encouraged and empowered, so that you can show up fully as the best version of yourself, as the highest version of yourself in everything that you create. So I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you for joining me today, Miss Amores. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Hasta luego.